Hello everybody, we are here at our newest feature, or one of our newest features, because in this little tour I will show you several. And this is our composting platform. It is just above the ground, being able to let us put our wheelbarrow just below it. And then when the compost gets delivered, it comes in a truck which then drops it just on this platform above the ground. Now you can imagine the difference that it makes. You can easily grab a shovel and just drag it into the wheelbarrow, and that makes the work quite light actually on your back, because normally shoveling and continuously filling wheelbarrows can be actually pretty heavy. So this is one thing we are really happy with. It's just enough for this area of the land, and in the future maybe we will actually, we will probably for sure want to install an extra platform where we have the other gardens. I'm bringing you now to the top land where we have changed some things. We have put up a caterpillar tunnel, which is actually super nice and fast to implement. It grows crazy inside here. We have beautiful cabbage and leeks and elephant garlic coming along, and then we're growing here these strawberries in tubes, and that's where I wanted to talk to you about, because we have been seeing all the time strawberry production on a large scale outside here in Portugal, and a lot of plastic is used. Now you can grow strawberries without plastic. Use straw, for example, or wood chips, so that they will not touch the soil and will not get affected too much by soil animals. Besides that, you don't really want to get them too wet because they can get rotting, and so they're a little tricky to grow just in the wild. Of course, you can have a normal production of strawberries, but if you really want to produce more, so you can sell them, and it has to be economically feasible, then you kind of have to come up with some solutions. Now, the outside plastic use is, of course, the most common nowadays. Although I don't really like it, but what I see is, first of all, I see sort of huge sea of plastic everywhere, which almost sometimes seems like you're seeing a lake or a pond, and then you look really good, and then you're actually seeing all this, just prepped strawberry beds. And the problem is not so much that that they use this plastic, because we use plastic for a lot of other things, and it can be useful sometimes. As you can see, we use this tunnel. But I don't like the single-use plastic mentality of it, because you rip off the plastic at the end, and then you just throw it away, or at least that's what I see happening. I see big piles of plastic all over the place, and it's whatever, burned or discarded off, and it doesn't make sense. It's just not beautiful. It's polluting, and it's really bad in my opinion. And I tried to come up with something that actually works for us, because we had to invest our time in planting the strawberries, and we don't want to end up with just a few strawberries. We want to end up with a significant amount, so we can really put that into our baskets, and they have to look good. And so we come up with this concept, which you can find online. There's a lot of people doing this. I tried this before with pine wood, which came out a little bit more expensive, and besides that, the wood eventually rots after 3 years or something. For this tunnel, we decided to do it differently. I wouldn't say you shouldn't do the pine wood, but you already have to choose them between treated pine wood or non-treated pine wood. We use non-treated pine wood, which I feel like it helped the strawberries to grow, because it was a little bit acidic. Now we talk about the plastic. These tubes, we cut it out 1/5 of it, and so you have you can see the cut, and what what makes it work until now, let's see the strawberries. They're coming along fine, making us really happy because, yeah, I was wondering whether they're gonna have enough soil, but it seems to be now. This is almost the same as I have been giving them in the earlier trials. And yeah, it's also about what type of soil you give them, obviously, and how much water, and what kind of heat they have. So these are choices to think about, to consider when you are preparing something like this. Anyway, this is one of the newest features. You can see we can regulate the water, and yeah, until now they seem to be fine, and I have a few casualties, a few plants that fell out, but we can replace those if we're in time. Besides that, I wanted to show you all these other grow beds. So it's a standard caterpillar tunnel where we can fit in 4 beds. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 beds, and then in this case we have a sort of a 5th bed. It's like the elevated bed where the strawberries are growing in. So another thing that should be mentioned in regards to the strawberries is that we harvest them, of course, daily. We chose a variety which does basically fruit about 3 times a year, so not year round, which will basically mean that when it fruits it's quite intensive, meaning we will be here when it fruits quite frequently, so probably every day, to harvest more than we would harvest if it would be a year-round variety, because we would also have to come here every day, but then we would have to harvest less, so you would make more trips and have less harvest. And now we will intensify the harvest by basically having fewer trips over the year, because it's only harvest time in the moment when they really fruit. Now, besides that, it's really nice to pick at your own height. So if you have harvest strawberries in the field, if you ever have done that, you will know that it's pretty heavy to be all the time picking those berries from the ground. And this is a big difference. Obviously, we're just walking along, and we just, even the weeding also, if that occurs, you can easily manage it. So that's a big pro. Another little detail is also something interesting to mention is strawberries actually fruit better around 20 degrees. So the more they are lifted from the ground, the warmer their earth is, and theoretically also the better they will fruit. And you could theoretically go up even more, and you could even do a 5th or 6th bed here, and 7th and 8th. But for now, this is what we're trying, and we don't want to make it too full and too shady. Under the strawberries we are growing ginger, and here we're growing carrots and turmeric, and then we're growing also lemongrass and cardamom, calendula, spinach, beetroot, lettuce and cabbage, carrots, giant garlic and leeks. So all comes along fine. Most of it grows the way I hoped it would grow. So if you look at this tunnel, the investment that it took and the time that it took to put it up was, it was really, it's really not something to be scared about. It is not so difficult to set up. It's actually pretty fast, and it's amazing how much fits in, and how steady you can actually grow inside. So in the summer we open up, we lift up the sides, and then we can grow outside with a bit of outside temperatures, and the thing can aerate a little bit more. We purposely didn't close the end parts because this tunnel is quite long, and until now it really doesn't need to be much hotter inside, in my opinion. But we will try checking out later what will happen. Yeah, last thing I still forgot to mention. I wanted to talk a little bit about these beds that are here just mowed behind me, and something that is very typical of this Mediterranean climate. We have these very short winters. Although you can get pretty warm summers, the winters are not really that cold. That's the typical characteristics of the Mediterranean climate. And then we have a lot of water in the winter, so there is a pretty big flush of greens coming through. Like I already earlier mentioned, there's this sorrel, and which is very fast in popping through and comes from very deep under. So even if you have no dig bed, you can expect to get trouble with them. Now there's methods. You can tarp your beds over a certain period of time, but we don't really have this situation where we can actually just let a lot of beds on hold. So there's two things you can then do. Probably there's many things you can do, but in the no dig setup that we use, and our limited space, we are mowing it down and then we're regrowing a fast crop in it, and then mowing it again, and then eventually the sorrel or the other plants that come from so deep down won't come back in that type of part of the season. So yes, there is something to say about that. In a temperate climate where you have winter and snow, you have this nice package of snow. Yeah, then you really want to put a tarp under so that the beds are protected, and in the springtime you can just take it off and start all over again. But here this is a little bit less defined. I'm not saying, it's not an excuse for me to say that I have weeds, but I kind of like the weeds. I like the photosynthesis in the beds. I like everything all the time growing, and if it's not the plants that I want, then it can be weeds or whatever you want to call it. So something to think about when you're growing in a Mediterranean setup. There is always something going on. It's never really stopping, and it can be benefit if you use it the right way. It can also be a problem if you're looking at everything as a weed. So, last but not least, this beautiful sight of the red cabbage and leeks on the dam wall, and then the old beans that are actually already out. We're going to soon mow that down, and in the back the potential area for the potential food forest. And this is something we are really want to develop soon. The pond in the middle, you see all the brown plants, soon will be used as irrigation water. If not, it will just slowly drain or evaporate and make everything moist around. We plant a lot of trees and maybe blueberries around it. And that's hopefully one of those new things that are going to develop soon. So I hope you enjoyed this little video, and I'm coming back soon with something really special. I hope I keep you up to date.